Okay, today we're in Waterloo Leek Street and I've prepared the wall, which is there, and we're going to do some text. This is one of the places that's legal for you to come and paint. There are loads in dotted around London or the world or whatever, and you can just come and do some work. I did this one a while ago on the scissor lift, but today I'm just going to focus on the thing that's going to be your bread and butter for as a mural artist. There's a venue here and I do a lot of live art and I end up doing a lot of logos. A lot of the time as a mural artist, you'll be painting a lot of logos, some skylines and stuff that you don't necessarily want to do. But I'm going to show you how to do text. Logos, not so much because it's the same as a stencil or tracing, whatever. But I'm going to do text because a lot of the time you'll have to do some taglines. Say you're doing something for, I don't know, whatever, Toshiba or Samsung, whatever. A lot of the time they'll ask you to write some taglines, like some advertising things, and you need to know how to do this. You're lucky sometimes when they say, oh, just do it in the graffiti way, because you can just do it in the whatever, like with a bit of style. But sometimes they say, oh, we want it written like properly, a bit like this sort of font, office party sort of thing. But not always. So sometimes it's freestyle and sometimes you have to do it quite accurately. So I'm going to show you both. I'm going to show you a few fonts. I'm going to show you the easiest one, which is, Typewriter. And then I'm going to show you a few different fonts as well that you can do.
So to start with, I'm going to make some straight line. So I find a chalk line and a laser really work perfectly hand in hand. They're really great tools. If you're going to be a mural artist full time, you're going to do so many logos and so much text. You really need that, as well as a lot of masking tape if you can find the end. I find, you see, as I'm hiding the laser with my body, it's really good to have a chalk line behind it. So then it allows me to paint comfortably and not be putting my body in all sorts of weird ways just to see the laser. So having a laser for straight lines easily on the tripod and then chalk line over the top is just really useful. The way it works, if you've never used one, is you tape one end, you make it taut, and then you ping it, and there you go. You got your straight line. Very useful. And in between lines, you want to rewind it to make sure there's enough chalk on the line, and shake it if needed. I mainly do light gray walls. So in order not to see the line too much, I use black chalk and white chalk mixed together to do like a very faint line. As you can see there, you can just about see the lines, but not too much. Even though it's chalk, you can't just rub it off. You can with a bit of water, but not just with your hand. So yeah. And also wear gloves because it makes your hands look really dirty really quickly when you got light grey or dark chalk. So in this case, I'm going to start with one of the hardest ones to do, and that's to do straight lines, a bit like I showed you in a poster with the party thingy. A lot of the time, it depends on your client. It depends on the brief, but a lot of the time you'll have to do some sort of straight letters like this. So it's good to know how to do them. And the best way is to do some thin lines and fill them in between. So that gives you a bit of leeway, gives you some discrepancy. Using a spray can is really not the ideal tool for this, but the great thing is it's really quick. Using spray cans, I've said this before, it's very quick. You can use a marker pen, of course, and you'd be a lot neater. And sometimes you have to, say if I'm working on paper, like the venue I just showed you, we have to paint the murals on paper, which is not ideal, but every line you do with when it's on paper is going to be seen. So if you start with straight lines and you do what I'm doing now, loads of lines, you're going to see all of those lines and it's going to look messy. So in that case, I kind of need to trace with a pencil or a marker pen, just the outline, and then I can fill in the inside and use like blurry lines basically. The moment I use sharp lines, you would see that on paper. This line right there, you would see that so much. But if you're painting on a wall, it doesn't matter. You can just suss out what is the right thickness. This comes with practice, and it's always good to have the wall color to to paint, the lines a bit better. Really, I should have taken a brush. I didn't think about it. I sort of touched it up a bit with a roller. Sometimes that's what you do, but it's a bit ghetto. It's not the best. So whenever you can, have a matching spray can, or at least paintbrush, so you can clean up. You see the bottom of the M there, could be a bit better. This font I'm doing, don't really have a name for it. It would be like Futura, that kind of thing, where the middle line of the E is really low, that kind of stuff. It's not your typical Arial font. I wanted something a bit tall and squashed and a bit different. But a lot of the time you'll use your typical Facebook font or whatever, Verdana or whatever it is. But it's a really good exercise to even get cleaner lines and to get better at doing details. Text is a really good exercise, whether you're gonna use it or not. But as a mural artist, you definitely will have to write a bunch of text and logos and stuff like that. Logos, as I said, it's a lot of the time it'll be a stencil. So I'm covering in this course I've covered the stencil, so I'm not gonna do it a second time, but it's more about the text. So there are two types of text really. The text like this, where you do you sketch the outline as best you can, and then you fill in something a bit thicker. And by the way, for this, I figured I'd make a shameless plug-in. I did a bit of an advertising in the street for the art course, because I kind of wanted something that would represent like a flyer or something, basically an advert. So I thought might as well do one for the course. So I've got this font at the top, and then I've got a Typewriter and a couple others, which I'll show you. But yeah, when you're sketching, and especially when you're practicing, using this brown color, if you're using MTN 94, this chocolate brown, or any dark brown really, it's just gonna work so well. The second best would be black. Black is not the best actually in that paint, I found, but for perfect detail lines, this dark brown is going to be the best. But obviously, if the client wants a pink, then that's what you got to use. But for practice, use this dark brown. You'll have great results, and that's why I used it for the course. So it makes me look like I can paint better. Not gonna lie, this is one of the hardest techniques to do text. Even portraits and cars and whatever, you've got a lot of ways to hide your mistakes. When you're doing text like this, you have to be quite thorough. But it's the same as everything else, just practice and then you get there. You see I'm tracing the outline and then filling in. Sometimes people get a bit stressed about the round letters. They're just the same. S probably is the harder one, but again, take your time. And then try and trace as best as you can, and then it works out fine, as you can see. Now, this is one of my favorite fonts because it's easy to do and it's also quite fun. It's very effective. It looks accurate. This is in the type of in the times of when they had. What are these called? These things called blocks, I think, where they had those wooden blocks with letters on them in the early days of printing, and they would have they would write the text in this way. But obviously, as they were getting worn out, they were not perfect. So you've got all these discrepancies on the text, and this is what I'm representing here. If you're doing typewriter type font and you're making it too clean, it doesn't look quite right, so you want to make it a bit messy. And when you're using a spray can, it's just better, because the spray can is really it's a harder tool to control rather than a brush or a marker pen. But sometimes you just either want to use a spray can or you have to. So this is the easiest font. The one I'm going to do after that is going to be script or cursive. Cursive is the opposite end of the spectrum. It's the harder one, and it took me quite a few paintings to get somewhat decent at it. I'm not perfect at it. I'm still practicing, but if you want to practice your technique in general as a mural artist with spray cans, honestly, writing cursive font is really going to be beneficial. It's going to help you massively because it's just so hard. You have to be very precise. You have to be quick, and you just have to do it on the fly. Like you see, like this, I'm doing a line, I move back, I have a look at what I'm doing, I take my time, do lots of little lines, you know. But when you're doing cursive, as I'm doing the second R there, if that was cursive, I just got to get it done pretty much straight away. Depending on how good the can is, like this brown, it'll behave and it'll allow you to correct and do little lines. But most of the time, what I'm doing is I'm blowing because there was a drip. Most of the time with cursive, you just have to get it done in one go. And the best way to do it is just to practice. So I'm preparing and then I go for it. And I'm going to try and write it all in one go. There are places where I went again, like I think some of the R's in spray painting, I think. The off, I didn't like the off, I redid the off. And then you see the R there, I managed to stop and go back. Most spray cans won't allow you that, they'll just drip and it won't work. So you have to try and get it in one go. But like I said, that comes with practice. If you do a lot of lines, like what's the line? I think it's the young fox jumped over the lazy dog or something. That has all the letters of the alphabet. So again, with this paint, I'm able to touch it up a bit, but really with another color, I'd have to get it done in one go. See this? I wouldn't be able to. Especially a white. A white would be more unforgiving. So you have to get it all in one go. But when you manage to do it, it's very satisfying and it looks really cool. See, it's not perfect, but it's okay. So practice on this one makes perfect. I reckon if I do another 100 or 200 lines, I'll get better with my technique. That's something you're going to use quite a bit, which is an outline. I haven't done the best job, and sorry for that. You basically want to write it quite thicker than it needs to be, and then you write it again on the inside with another color. But you want to be quite consistent as much as you can. So with the like October there, you can see I'm trying to get the lines as even as possible. And it doesn't matter if you consider E and R properly. You just have to make sure the ones you write on top and are going to be touching and they're going to be visible. There I made a mistake and I thought I'd leave it to show you what I do. So when you do something that's not right like this and you want to paint over it, make sure you spread it out so it allows it to paint to dry, because otherwise you'll get some white and brown drips. Doesn't work. So I'll spread it and then I'll paint the brown and it'll allow it to dry. It wasn't perfect. I should have done a better job. Sorry about that. And now I'm just letting it dry a bit just to make sure it doesn't drip. And then I'll go with the white and I'll do the line on the inside. The idea is you want to try and keep the same thickness around the letters. You're not really going to manage to do that with, like I said, with a spray can. When you're doing text, you have to go for it. You can't stop and start, so you really have to go for it. And it's quite hard to get very precise, but you try and do the best you can. Again, really effective and satisfying when it works. It looks really good. In this one, it could have been a bit better, but there you go. Practice is the aim of the game on this one.